Just want to say a few words about this Kim Jong-un health saga. Um, so this has kind of been something that's been mounting over the last few days, and it is that the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un may have been maybe seriously ill or may even have died. Now, the latest development of this, and I want to say this up front, is that South Korea and China are refuting this, and their sources are saying he's actually alive and well. And I think that's probably the case when all is said and when all's reflected on. Initial reports from and outside sources from Japan and elsewhere had suggested that he was in a vegetative state after some sort of botched surgery for a heart problem. He is overweight, of course. Um, but the thing with North Korea, there's a few things I want to say regarding the nature of the state and also if his sister were to take over. Um, Kim Young, Kim Yo-jong, yeah, Kim Yo-jong, I believe her name is. Um, get my Kims mixed up. But basically, the very nature of the North Korean regime is that it is so secretive that everything that comes from that country needs to be taken with some degree of caution. Notwithstanding the fact that it's a brutal dictatorship, where horrendous human rights abuses go on, that has seen massive famine, probably has very high coronavirus deaths. You know, a lot of these sort of regimes are probably not reporting the full extent of their. I don't know if North Korea's even issued its figures. I'll need to check Worldometer after this. Likely, if there has been infections there, probably the deaths are very high because of the fact it's a poor country and the fact that the regime puts all resources into the military, or most of them. Um, so it may well be that Kim Jong Un is indeed alive and well. As for the reason to his absence in recent weeks as to why this is mounted, who knows? Could it be that he is just paranoid about the virus and therefore he's keeping, his profile to a minimum? Um, who knows? One thing that I am sort of thinking of is that when his father died in 2011, there was a lot of speculation over weeks until the state finally admitted it, and then there was a lavish, funeral ceremony and so on. And I guess the same thing happened in 1994 when Kim Il-sung died, the grandfather. The thing that's unique about North Korea, and I think it is pretty much unique. The only other example, I guess, would be the Castros in Cuba, which was brothers. But I think it's or maybe the Duvaliers in Haiti as well. But it's the only totalitarian regime, at least in that part of the world, that's dynastic. With China, I mean, Xi Jinping has no relations to Hu Jintao. Hu Jintao has no relations to Jiang Zemin and so on. So, in that sense, it's quite unique. And as far as I know, the Vietnamese Communist Party isn't based on nepotism. It's they're individuals. Um, so Kim has no children, at least not that I'm aware of, or if he does, they're very young. I think that if he were to die, there would be something of a power vacuum. His younger sister is 31. She has been getting more of a media appearance ever since that Singapore summit with Donald Trump, which he sort of acted as his, I guess, assistant in a sense. She's only 31. If Kim actually has died, and I'm inclined to believe the South Korean sources and the Chinese sources didn't think it would say that, but I think probably he hasn't died. But if he was, or if he was seriously incapacitated, his sister would ostensibly be named. Now, there's a few things with that. She's very young. She's only 31. He was as well, of course. Presumably, she's notched up some ties to the inner workings of the regime. If there's if there's ever any chance of reform in that country, I think it will only come with the death of this dynasty. And I do not believe for a second that she would be any more of a reformer than her brother wasn't. All the indication is that she is just as cold and averse to human rights as he is. Now this sort of ties in a little bit to this notion. I made a video about this that women leaders are always better. You know, some feminists would promote that narrative or give the women a chance, and some will say, "Oh, it's shocking that North Korea can get a woman leader before the United States." Okay, great, but then you consider it's a country that has gulags, it's a country with mass starvation, a country with an iron grip on control of every aspect of people's lives. So whether it's a man or a woman running it, you know, time will tell. As it stands, this is probably not applicable anyway because he's probably still alive. I personally suspect, and this is pure speculation, that he's just kept a low profile because he's frightened of the virus. I think that's probably about the height of it. Um, and I think, good or bad, anything coming out of North Korea needs to be taken with some degree of caution. Although some of the more extreme human rights abuses, I mean, the claims around those, I wouldn't be at all surprised because of the testimony of people who have escaped, because of the sort of things that go on there with the intense personality cult. Um, but when it comes to the health of Kim, the state itself, of course, will be very secretive on that. But anyway, I think if he has died or if he's been seriously incapacitated, at some point they'll have to be, they'll have to become clean about it because the devoted masses, the people brainwashed by state propaganda, will start to wonder where is their dear leader. Um, or I think that was the epithet given to his father. I think they call him the Supreme Brother Number One or something like that. So interesting stuff, but I don't think he's died. That's my gut feeling. And if he has, or if he's been seriously incapacitated, people shouldn't rush to be optimistic that his sister will be any better. It would be quite unusual to have a woman dictator. There aren't many examples of that. There's been a couple, but not many. The vast majority of dictators are men, so that would be an interesting situation. But I would not be suddenly optimistic just because she's a woman. She has been brought up on exactly the same ideology. She's part of the family. She's close to her brother, so I don't see any reason why she would be a reformer. I mean, her brother's obviously entrusted her with powerful positions, and she has taken a more high-profile role of late. If she was to take over, of course, she'd need to secure trust within the mechanisms of the regime. And the only chance, I think, for any reform in that country would be if some party veterans outside of the family were to sort of maybe attempt some sort of coup d'etat or something like that. But there's no sign of that happening. As with everything in North Korea, it's all speculation.